Hey, everybody. One of the big things that I get asked to do a lot is talk to my clients' kids about how to get ahead in the future. There's a big failure, I believe, in Canada society to properly educate kids on how finances work and what you actually need to do when you're starting out to really get ahead of the game. I think the younger generation is going to have a tougher time building wealth now with a lot of the changes in society in terms of the cost of living and the opportunities available. Um, and I mean, if you're a young person, you have to realize that you can't just get by doing maybe what your parents have done or your grandparents have done, um, because wages aren't growing as fast as the cost of living is growing, right? So if inflation is going up, like I know it's high now, but if it's normally let's say 4%, wages are only growing at 2%. That house you want to buy keeps going up by 10% a year. Um, it's getting harder and harder to get ahead. So, this video is going to give you kind of a step by step way of how to basically finish high school and position yourself the best way possible to succeed. The first thing you're going to have to do getting out of high school is figure out exactly what you're going to do with your life. It's not that easy to just jump into a career right away. You also see a lot of times people will go down one path, switch to a different path. So let's say you're going to school to be a lawyer, then you switch to be a teacher, and all the while you're building student loan debt. Um, I mean, there's this thing in society where people say to follow your dreams and to if you do a job you love, you never have to work a day in your life. Honestly, that's about 1% of the world. The reality is that a lot of us have to work and do jobs that we don't necessarily like, but we get through it because there's a payoff at the end. So if you are one of these people that you really want to be an engineer, or you want to be something that's almost guaranteed to be worth the investment in the education, great. But you really have to stop and think if you're going to university because you really um, believe that what the education you're going to get is going to be valuable in the future, or if you're going to university because you just don't really know what you want to do, and you just want to, party or keep the party going from high school. So if you really want to get ahead of life, you have to grow up a little bit right away and decide, hey, I'm going to spend the least amount of time of my life working. I'm going to maximize my younger years where I have less responsibility and more energy to make sure that later on in life, I'm not stressed out and I'm not sitting in a position where I'm working till I'm 71, 75, whatever. Okay. So, first thing to do is take a look at this website I'm going to show you, where you can get an idea of what you can expect to get paid in different jobs in Canada. So this website is jobbank.gc.ca. It's done by the government of Canada, and it's basically where you can go to find out how much you can get paid depending on your province and the job that you might want to do. So if you go to the job bank, I'll just go to the beginning, and you go to trend analysis here. You can go to wages, and maybe you have 3 or 4 things that you like doing. Okay, so maybe you want to be an astronaut, a fireman, work on cars, or build houses. Okay, so let's just say you wanted to be a carpenter. One of the things about being a carpenter is that if you really wanted to have a job that gave you the flexibility to move around, um, trades are a great option. You can get into the workforce quicker. It'll cost less money to get your education, and it's something that will always be in demand. Okay. People always need carpenters. And as the world becomes more dependent on um, technology type jobs and more people start going down that route, you're going to find that carpenters and tradespeople become more valuable. That's, in my opinion, until robots replace us all. That's going to be the place to go. So if we go down here, it tells us what the low wage. In this environment we're in right now, I don't know who would be getting paid 18.50, but you'd probably be an apprentice. But the median is $28 an hour. If we take $28 an hour and put it into an annual salary, we get 58,240, and we can calculate using this personal tax calculator how much you'd actually be taking home. So you'd have to pay $9,700 worth of tax. but you'd be taking home in BC at least $48,446 divided by 12. So that's 4 grand a month, right? Now, the tricky part is where you're going to live with 4 grand a month. Now, um, there's nothing wrong with having roommates. There's nothing wrong with living in a place with a smaller population. There's nothing wrong in moving to an area that gives you the ability to make it further in life because the cost of living is lower. Okay. Um, Human beings are really strange. We used to be very nomadic. We used to, how did Canada and the US and North America get populated by uh, uh, um, people from the UK and Spain and such? Is, we traveled across the sea or the ocean in boats for the opportunity to have a better life. And now a lot of the times you hear, well, I can't move, right? And you have people that just, it's like humans have forgotten about the fact that for better opportunities, you need to sometimes move to a new place, right? If I think about, my family, my father moved from Ontario to British Columbia because there was more opportunity. My mom was born in London, England, and her family ended up in Alberta. So it's just kind of like we've gotten into our generation where all of a sudden we're going, well, it's too much work or it's too hard to move to where the opportunities are. I did another video which went over, you know, buying a property based off of which province you live in, and basically, if you live in BC, you really struggle versus if you live in Saskatoon, you're retiring, or in 25 years, you're sitting on about $3 million in net worth. So this is something to think about, right? So if you don't really know exactly what you want to do, or you don't have the inclination to do something um, like be an astronaut or a race car driver, a carpenter's a great career, right? You'll wake up in the morning, you'll go to work, finish your 8 hours, and you come home, you do a good job, and you get paid. It doesn't mean that you can't open your own business one day. You could be a carpenter today, and in 10 years, you could have your own company and hire other carpenters, and you could be doing your own thing. So it doesn't limit you. But if you really are looking for a way to just get things going right away, carpenter trades, I always like my 16-year-old. That's what we've been talking about. Is, you know, um, there's nothing wrong with getting into a trade, especially you can always go and do something else. You have a long life, but I mean, don't waste time working at a grocery store and partying every weekend just because you're still trying to figure life out, right? So that's being a carpenter. Now you can go back to the same system that Canada has, and for example, a computer software engineer. Obviously, they get paid more money because it is a higher, more in demand career, but there is more education involved, right? So you got to think about it this way: is that while you're going to school, you won't be building your net worth. So you need to be going to school, building your own personal earning potential to make up for the years that you're going to miss. Okay. So step one, I know it's hard. It's not that it's easy for me to just say, blah, 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 pick a job. But at the end of the day, don't waste time. Okay. If you need a year to, a gap year, whatever they call to go travel, that's fine. But have it in your mind that when you get back, you're going to put your nose to the grindstone, or however, whatever the saying is, and start making some money. Okay. All right. And to pull it all together, I've come back to my Plans Well program. This is the program I use for my clients, for gathering data about people when I'm first meeting them. And also, in the description of this video, there's a link where you can do one of these yourself. And I can help you or use you as an example for another video. Obviously, be confidential. I blank out the names, but take advantage of it. It's something I pay for. You don't pay for it. So it's pretty handy just to get an idea of where you stand. But what I put in here is my client is Robert, who's age 20. So we're going back in time. The income that I'm making, so you can see it's 20 because I've said that, I graduated when I was 17, but I was 18. It took me a couple of years to actually get into being a carpenter, right? So we'll do this based on a carpenter. My annual income is $58,240, and I'm saying I'm going to save $1,000 a month. Now, it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but you're not going to have it as easy as everybody else. Pensions are smaller now. Okay. Um, the amount that you get from the government in retirement is not enough to survive on. Okay, it's just not. There's a big difference between the cost of living in Canada and how quickly it's increasing compared to the amount of money that each human being is making. So it's going to be harder for you, and you need to realize that and instantly, unfortunately, become more mature and say, this is a non-negotiable thing I need to do for my future, and save $1,000 a month. And you're not only going to save it, you're going to put it into a TFSA. So you're going to go to your bank, or find out, see if you can piggyback onto your parents' investment advisor. All of my clients that have kids, all of their kids can be my clients for free, right? Talk to your parents about it and see if they can have that same option, right? Because if the sooner you get in touch with someone who can do all this for you, usually there's a dollar figure where before anyone will do this, like you'll have to have like $100,000 before you can actually deal with a financial planner, a certified financial planner. There's a difference in Canada between a financial planner and a certified one. So before you can deal with a certified one, um, usually they have a minimum amount of money that they deal with. So try and piggyback on with your parents. If that doesn't work, try doing the plans well thing. I'll pick it up, and maybe I can help you out, or just follow this blueprint that I'm doing for you. It's not, you're starting from zero. You have no responsibilities at this point. You can work your ass off. I mean, when I was 19, I was working as a cook, and then I worked up at the ski hill, and like some nights I'd get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and I'd be fine. If I got 3 or 4 hours of sleep now at age 40, I would pass out driving to work. Like it's just not, it's totally different. So take advantage of where you're at in life. So $1,000 a month is what you're going to save. It's non-negotiable. Everything in your life will revolve around the fact that you're going to save $1,000 a month. Your take-home pay, when we go back to this, was $48,446, which means you're taking $4,000 net home per month. You get to spend three, right? So you have to find shelter. So maybe you have a roommate and you're both paying $1,000 a month. I had tons of roommates when I was 20, right? You can't just instantly be in the luxury super condo of your dreams, or the mansion of your dreams. You got to get you got to get a net worth built up. You're not going to finance a new car. You're not going to borrow any money. You're going to get you're going to go to the bank and you're going to get a secured credit card, which means you're going to put $500 down, and they're going to give you a $500 credit card, and you're going to have your cell phone um, bill get paid by your credit card, and you're going to pay that credit card every month automatically. Okay. That will build your credit up. All you got to do, just have one thing every month. So you have your secured credit card, $500 limit. You don't even touch it. You don't even put it in your wallet. Okay. It is a tool that you have automatically going that just builds your credit for the day that you're going to buy a house. Okay. So you have $3,000 left over. This assumes that you get raises, because you should get still a 2% raise every year. But the main thing we want to look at is, if you start when you're 20, where are you when you're 25? Okay. So all this is doing is it's putting the money into your tax-free savings account as much as it can. And it's also doing RSP contributions where it makes sense, because if you've watched some of my other videos, I explain when it makes sense to do an RSP contribution and when it doesn't, right? So I'm not going to get into the details of that now, but there are certain points where you should do one. Every dollar you put into RSP, you get the tax back that you paid on that dollar. All right. That's the easiest way to think about it. And this system assumes that when you get that tax refund, you're taking the refund and also investing that. Okay. And we're going to get around 7%, because that's a pretty logical thing, pretty logical amount to get right now. Okay. So what are we looking at here? So we're in 2022. Let's go to 2027. All right. So in 2027, if you stuck to this plan, you'd be sitting on about $70,000 between your RSP and your tax-free savings account. There is a program in Canada called the New Home Buyers Plan, which means you could actually access the RSP money to buy a home. Up to $35,000 is the limit. And you have $50,000 in TFSA. Doesn't mean you have to buy a home at this point, but you're 26 years old and you have 70 grand. And I would bet money that it'd be really hard for anyone right now who's 26 to look around at their friend circle and find anybody who's actually saved $70,000, right? There's the one-offs. There's these, like the biggest hardship that I think the young people have today is the fact that we have social media constantly in your face saying your life isn't good enough. You don't have a Lamborghini. You aren't working from Cancun. You aren't flying in a private jet. Like, you're constantly being inundated with all these people that are either fake or one in a million saying that this is the life you should live and I'm better than you, right? I didn't have that when I was growing up. Ignorance is bliss. I didn't know. I didn't know that I was, wearing hand-me-down clothes and everybody else was getting new clothes. Like, we weren't a wealthy family. I didn't know these things, but now it's in your face all the time. Okay. So, 26 years old, you have $70,000. You have money where if, if you break your leg and you're out of work, you're not on the streets. You don't have to move home. Okay. The thing about this plan is that you just always keep $1,000 every month going into savings, being invested no matter what. If we go to 10 years down the road, so now you're 31. Well, let's see. Yeah, let's go 31. That's fine. Now you have $97,000 in your tax-free savings account. Remember, the tax-free savings account, you can take that money out. It doesn't affect your taxes. Okay. And you have $63,000 in your RSP. So that's $160,000 at age 31. I did not have $160,000 saved up when I was 31. Okay. By this time, maybe you've met someone, you've fallen in love. Maybe you're starting to think about getting a family. Maybe you use this money to buy a house. You can use this money at any time to buy a home because that's still an asset, right? You're just moving it from one asset class to another. You're saying, okay, well, I'm going to take money out of my tax-free savings account in my RSP, and I'm going to put that into a home. But what does not change is no matter what's going on in your life, you're always putting $1,000 away. When you meet the other human being that you want to spend the rest of your life with, you tell them, hey, this is something I do. I'm very interested in working as little as possible in my life. And this is what I do. It's a non-negotiable thing. I've always put $1,000 away. And that's just it. Like, it becomes part of the fabric of your being that you save money and you respect money. Okay. And then we keep going along around this line. Oh, that reminds me, the last thing too, I was going to say that's also a hard thing for the young generation growing up is relationships are so disposable now. Okay. And relationships, breaking up during a relationship when you have assets can be one of the biggest things that change your trajectory in life. Because usually when you get divorced, half of your stuff is gone. Okay. This is a big thing that people need to realize is that, you fall in love with who you fall in love with, but you need to be more careful as you grow your assets, who you're letting into your life. Okay. So just something to think about, right? There's things called prenups, but I just think there's a lot to worry about that, other generations didn't have to in terms of how society's changed. So, and then we keep going. So we get to age 40 and, obviously these numbers keep getting bigger and bigger. Now you have closer to $400,000 at age 40. That's a huge amount of money to have when you're 40. And we get to age 50 and you have, around $800,000. Okay. Now, all along this line, you could be adding more into your savings. You could have a pension from work, right? There's a lot of things that could change, but all I'm trying to illustrate here is that you have to get it stuck in your head that you're going to be saving money every month. You need to find a job um, that's going to get you to a point where you can actually achieve this. Right. So that's it. I mean, it's not a huge, long drawn out video, but the main thing that I want to, and I really encourage younger people or people that are still trying to figure their life out to subscribe to this channel, because I will be putting out more and more videos. I'm probably going to do like 100 videos in terms of different things that pop into my head during the day. Um, I am I've been doing this for 16 years, so you can trust that a lot of the things that I'm saying are quite realistic. I'm not trying to mislead anyone in this at all. But the main thing where this came from was I was thinking about my own son who's 16. I'm thinking, like, how is he really going to make it? And if you can change your focus being a young person from the here and now today, and think more about how easy you want life to be later. um, think of the career that you're going to get as a tool to get you to a point where you don't work at all, right? That's what your job is. Your job that you're choosing is not your um, not the jobs that people get. It's not always their calling. It's not always the thing they dreamed of. It's sometimes it's not the thing that they were created to necessarily do, right? But maybe you get your ass in gear and you get a job that pays well as soon as possible, so that 10 years down the road, then you can say, hey, I have the ability now because I got 100 grand in my jeans, and I have my finances in order. And I've met my partner in life now. And because our expenses aren't ridiculously high, because we haven't bought all these, financed cars and financed boats and all this, shit we don't need, I have the ability now to try a different career path, right? But staying in the limbo of life, waiting until you have the absolute perfect scenario and the perfect job, and then at that point deciding, okay, now I'm going to figure out how to build my wealth. Now I'm going to figure out how to one day retire. I mean, that could be 10 years down the road, and you just wasted 10 years of growth and savings for nothing, right? So I know it's hard to understand when you're a younger person. And this isn't just for young people. I mean, you could be 30 and still trying to figure out what you're going to do in your life. But the main thing is to realize you need to work. It's going to be harder for everyone here on out. The government is not going to take care of you. Okay. You need to, as soon as possible, start building assets in some way, shape, or form. Um, yeah. So hopefully that helps.